TMZ podcast. I'm Charlie Neff.
I'm Edward Lewis.
Edward is filling in for Charlie Cotton today. As you guys know, Charlie had his baby, so he is enjoying his time with his newborn. Edward is our top dog over at TMZ Sports.
Top dog, that's me.
We got a lot of topics to go over today. We're going to be starting with J.Lo filing for divorce from Ben Affleck. We have all the details on that, and one detail includes there is no prenup. Woof. Scott Peterson, remember that guy serving time in prison for murdering his pregnant wife? Well, he's got a theory as to who murdered her, and it's, he says, not him. Selena Gomez followed a wedding planner on TikTok. There's a bunch of engagement rumors about her and Benny Blanco. Seems like she's got wedding on the brain. All right, starting off with some big news. J.Lo filed for divorce from Ben Affleck. We've known all along that they were on the outs, not speaking, only communicating through their managers. Well, yesterday we broke the story that J.Lo filed documents at the LA Superior Court. Very interesting twist here. She did not have a lawyer. She filed these herself. The term is actually called pro per. So she did this without an attorney, and she listed the date of separation as April 26, 2024. And we posted some photos. They were actually photographed individually that day. But what's really interesting here is this is J.Lo's fourth marriage, Ben's second. There was no prenup. And you would think there would be a prenuptial agreement, considering they've been through this a few times. So that basically means any profits or earnings that they had in the past almost 2 years of their marriage, it's going to be community property. And as you guys know, they've been filming a ton of stuff. They've been busy these past couple weeks or past couple years. Ben just finished The Accountant 2. He also produced The Instigators. He starred in Air, Hypnotic. J.Lo also, she did Shotgun Wedding, The Mother, This Is Me Now, Atlas. They also have that $60 million home they're going to have to split up. But yeah, it could get nasty.
So I got two questions for you. One, what do you think the significance of her not filing through an attorney is?
I think almost to maybe catch him off guard. That would be my only guess.
An attorney can go through and just file it as well, off guard as well. I read that yesterday. I found that very interesting.
It also made me feel like it was kind of impulsive. Usually if you have an attorney, you're like having meetings. It's kind of maybe a longer process. I feel like we know there was a significance with her filing yesterday, right? Because 2 years ago on the date yesterday that she filed was their 2-year anniversary of that big Georgia wedding ceremony that they had. Remember, they had a couple weddings. They had the Las Vegas one first where they legally got married, but then they had the big, more official, large ceremony. So it almost made me feel like she didn't want to, quote, maybe waste her time with the attorney and just wanted to do this impulsively.
Now that you're explaining it, it almost feels like maybe both the lawyers were going back and forth about et cetera, and she's like, dude, I just need to get this done. I think we wrote in the last line, or one of the last lines of our article, that that it's PR. It's good PR, I guess, for the person who files first, or it can be perceived as good PR for the person who files first.
It's a race to the court, right? But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter.
Sure. I mean, in terms of legally, but in terms of the court of public opinion, now it'll always be J.Lo filed for divorce from Ben.
It makes it look like he did something wrong for her to file. But is that the case?
That appears to be a decent explanation. Now, the other question I had is, how can these two not be adults about the split without a prenup? I guess is my biggest question, right? Like, these two are huge mega superstars who have their own individual wealth, and I can't fathom either of them. Maybe this is me being ignorant, but either of them going after each other's throats in this divorce, right? I mean, they both have their own extreme wealth. Why would you now be like, J.Lo, no, I want 99% of everything you made, and vice versa? Why would J.Lo be like, I want 99% of what you made?
Well, we don't know what caused the split, right? And sometimes you can maybe be motivated by if you felt you were wronged in a relationship, people will use that to their advantage, and they'll get nasty. We don't know if that's going to be the case. We know that J.Lo did say she waived spousal support and asked the judge to deny him asking for spousal
Right.
support. So at
So
least
isn't
there
that
it
an
looks
indication
cordial.
of look, we have our own money. Why do we need to
Right.
be bullies about maybe it comes now the property might be a thing or the like the cars, the houses and stuff like that. But in terms of individual wealths, I cannot see this getting that bad.
Just reading off of all the movies that they've done in the past couple years, it feels pretty even to me.
Right. Maybe Ben has
Um,
a little bit better. Like
yeah,
Air seemed to be a
because
much bigger movie than
some
any of
of
them
her
on here.
movies didn't do very well,
Yeah.
and obviously she had canceled that tour
Right,
that she was
right.
supposed to do,
But she's already like
but she is
such a
mega
significant
wealthy.
millionaire. You know what I mean?
For sure, for sure. But it's really I'm very curious to know if Ben saw this coming or if he was blindsided by
Well, they said
this.
April 26th was a split. I mean, they
But the divorce filing, usually
Oh,
if you separate, you might think like, "Oh, maybe we'll talk it out, maybe we'll revisit this," or, you kind of think like you don't think like, "Oh, she's gonna go file for divorce."
why wouldn't you? We separated and we're not wearing wedding rings anymore and
Well, they had been wearing them on and off,
right, right.
so it was, like, very confusing, even though we knew behind the scenes
Right.
it had unraveled.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll
I don't get the
see.
vibe that Ben is bothered by much. You know what
Yeah, he has been
I mean?
spending a lot of time with his ex-wife, Jen
Yeah,
Garner.
I
She's
noticed
in a
that.
relationship, so it's not like they're gonna
Yeah,
rekindle anything, but it does seem like he has some support.
yeah.
Moving on to Scott Peterson. Wow, wow, wow. I don't know if you've seen any of the documentaries.
Yes.
There's the Netflix documentary, which Laci's family is heavily involved in. And then there
Mhm.
was a documentary on Peacock where he gave an on camera interview behind bars, by the way. He's still serving time for the death of his wife, Laci Peterson, and their unborn son, Connor. And he is still touting his innocence and has a theory as to who may killed his pregnant wife.
So if you didn't kill Laci, who killed Laci?
Yeah, there was a burglary across the street from my home. There are a lot of people home her. And I believe that Laci went over there to see what was going on. That's when she was taken.
Um,
It's terrible.
okay, first of all, I think it's a lot of people will probably feel the same. Delusional. He killed
Good
his
lord.
wife. um, so this, if you guys don't remember, so during the time that Laci was quote unquote missing, and he had said she was missing, they had discovered that the house across the street was burglarized.
Mhm.
And they actually found the two men that burglarized the home. And so at the time, before the family had turned on Scott, Laci's family had turned on Scott, people thought the burglars had something to do possibly with
Sure.
her disappearance. It later came out that these burglars were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, we robbed that house. However, we did not take that woman.
Oh,
So, and they wanted to clear their names because also when you go into prison, you will be attacked by other prisoners if you're in there for any kind of woman
or
killing,
yeah, child,
child.
yeah.
Yeah. So the burglars really wanted to make it clear we did not have anything to do with this pregnant woman's disappearance.
Mhm.
They even took like polygraph tests, which they passed. These burglars were completely cleared of having any connection. However, they were unsure about the actual date that they robbed the house.
Mhm.
And so there was a lot of confusion with that because they claimed it was during the time that Laci was already listed as a missing person. And there was already a ton of family searching, ton of, press there at the house, ton of police presence. So a lot of people thought, how did they rob the house across the street with so much commotion
Right.
happening
Mhm.
on the date that they claimed?
Mhm.
So there was some, holes there because they couldn't really figure it out. The police were trying to kind of figure it out too. No one really knew because the people that were staying at that house that got robbed, they were on
Out of town, right?
vacation.
Mhm.
But I just think it's really interesting that Scott is kind of trying to grasp at any straw here. I mean, if you really know the case, you know that he had claimed he went on a boat. No
Mhm.
one knew this guy had a boat. The area he claimed he went on the boat, that's where they found her
Right.
torso and the unborn son. So a lot of things added up, and even like they had started tracing his car, they started tracing his calls. And when somebody left a message on Scott's phone saying they were looking for a body today in the bay, they didn't find a body. You hear him go, "Whoo!"
Oh god.
Like he was glad that
Sure.
they didn't find her.
Sure.
Any other man, and just his demeanor, I could go on and on. his demeanor, this whole entire case was cool, calm. Yep, she's missing. Started throwing things in the nursery, using it as a storage. Any man that his pregnant wife is missing would be distraught, would be bubbling with tears, would not putting storage in the nursery. Get out of here. And he refused to do any press interviews for the longest time, almost like he was like hoping this would go away. This guy's a murderer.
Oh, Jesus. I will say I don't usually jump on board on these like Netflix trains, but I did get into it over the weekend. I saw the first episode.
Oh, okay.
And it's
sorry, did I spoil it for you?
Yeah, a spoiler. I actually grew up in the Bay Area at the time that all this is happening, so I'm familiar with the story. So
this
it's not
happened in Modesto.
Yeah, right. I'm from San Jose. It's about 45 minutes east of San Jose, but
Modesto Mystery House.
Right next door to that. So I'm with you. So far, I'm one episode in, and we just got to Amber Fry. That whole
his mistress.
Of the story. But yeah, it's hard to say. I do find it very coincidental that the neighbors next door were burglarized. But to your point, I like they took the pregnant lady and then put her in the same river, or I guess lake, or whatever bay that you want to call it, that he happened to be fishing in the day of her disappearance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It all
and never fished before.
Right.
Very
he just
strange.
bought the boat a couple days before.
And people were like, "You have a boat?"
He bought the lure, and he tried to show it to the cops, and he said he used the lure, but then the lure was still in its plastic. He made the anchors and said he only made one, but the one was missing. There's so much evidence that points towards him being guilty, and obviously he was convicted. Yeah. So.
And he was actually technically on death row. But then I think in 2019, California overturned that. So now he's just serving, I think, life in prison. But I hope for Laci's family, I hope one day he finally confesses
if he did do
what
it,
happened to her.
Yeah.
What did he do to her? That's what we want to hear. We don't want to hear him blaming these bumbling burglars that are like, what? We did what? I mean, it was like literally the Home Alone burglars. Like they could not have been more innocent of that.
Jeez.
All right, moving on to Selena Gomez. Seems like she's got wedding on the brain. There's been a lot of rumors that her and Benny Blanco, her producer boyfriend, that they got engaged. And if you guys remember, there was a photo that she posted. It was a selfie in the mirror. She was holding her phone, and she got a little emoji covering her ring finger. Some people thought, oh, she's actually covering a vape that she's holding. But then a lot of other fans were like, no, she's covering a wedding ring, engagement ring. Well, fans noticed that she started following a wedding planner on TikTok, and a pretty big wedding planner, by the way. They focus on luxurious weddings in LA, Napa Valley, San Francisco, and they've been featured in Vogue. And though they haven't confirmed if they've been engaged or not, like you can only imagine, like if this wedding were to go down, it would be so extravagant.
Why is that?
Probably like star-studded because of all of their friends.
Does Bieber go?
Oh no!
Benny Blanco and Bieber are low-key tight though, right?
No. Just because they worked on a couple of songs together, people are like, "Oh, they're best friends."
Well, I didn't think they were best friends.
They collabed on songs because he's a producer.
I don't know.
There's no way he would go to that wedding. That'd be so weird.
Well, yeah, I know. But does he get an invite?
Even if he got an invite, he has to decline.
Okay. Yeah, I don't find this surprising at all. No, like these two have seemed to be inseparable since we've kind of seen them initially starting together. They dropped the L word repeatedly. They're all over each other on Instagram, and
he kind of hinted when he was on Howard Stern. He kind of talked about how he was like wanting to marry her.
He wants family or whatever.
Wants family and kids. But I will say too, it's not really. Maybe in this case it is, but just in general, if a girl follows a wedding planner or posts maybe things on Pinterest, it's not necessarily a sign that like you're secretly engaged. Usually, like when I was like single for the hot minute that I was single, I was on Pinterest, like pinning my wedding dresses, like ring inspo. Like that's just kind of what you do as a girl.
And when you're in a serious committed relationship like this as well, you probably start to be thinking about it.
Because there's for sure conversations like, do you want to get married? Do you want it big?
And they're both relatively old now. She's 32.
I'm sorry. Are we saying 32 is old?
Well, I mean, relatively in terms of like the marriage game, right? Like that's when most people get married is in that 30s range, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
It just seems like that's the time to do it. And when you're in your 30s,
Edward, how old are you?
35.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You following your own advice?
I'm not. I have to be in a relationship.
Well, you're kind of dating somebody.
I'm not.
aren't you?
I'm not kind of dating
Oh,
anybody.
okay. All right. Hope she knows that.
Here we go.
Moving on. Today in history. Today is National Senior Citizens Day. Do you have a favorite senior citizen?
Do I have a favorite senior citizen? I have to think about that.
Grandma, hello. Grandma?
They're all dead senior citizens.
Oh,
now.
how sad. R.I.P.
Yeah, I don't know. What age is senior citizen?
I think 65.
Okay.
64.
My parents make that. They're
Your parents are senior? That's so weird to think 64, 65 is
I mean they're in
seniors.
their
But I guess that's
60s.
when you get your Ross senior discount, right?
Oh my God,
Ross Dress for Less.
we're going to Ross now?
Yeah, they have senior
Yeah.
discount.
Nope, I'd say my parents. Yeah.
Okay. This day in 1911, big news happened on this day. So
Okay.
Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa was stolen, and the media sensation made it one of the world's most famous paintings. So I don't know if you knew this. Did you know it wasn't like famous?
I didn't know that. You guys talked about this on the show the other day. I had no idea.
It was not
People
a thing.
thought it was the most mid painting
People
ever.
didn't even.
Yeah.
People did not even know it was missing.
That's crazy. I learned that.
It was missing
Yeah.
for months. Nobody was like, oh, wasn't that one painting there?
Right.
So some guy came in, stole it,
Right.
because I guess he was from like Italy. The painting was in France. He wanted to reclaim the painting back to Italy where Da Vinci is from or something like that. And they finally realized it was missing. There was this whole search. And because of all the media hype, people started to know Mona Lisa. So it wasn't like,
Right.
oh, it was perfection
masterpiece, right?
or
Yeah.
no, it had
Mhm.
nothing. It just had to do with all the
Just
commotion.
gain fame. Yeah.
By
That's
the way,
crazy.
2 years later, it was found, returned, and
I've heard
end
it's.
of
You've been
story.
there, yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard it's not. It's
The
very
Louvre.
underwhelming, right?
very underwhelming.
The Mona Lisa, I mean, not the Louvre.
Oh yeah, well, Mona Lisa's out
Yeah.
of the Louvre.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. But the Mona
Yeah.
Lisa itself is underwhelming. No.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also like the whole thing is you want to get a selfie.
Mhm.
The lighting is horrible.
in a
It's
box,
like
right?
spotlight
Mhm.
lighting, so you just look like I don't know, look
It's
like
like a
almost
mugshot?
it could have been like photoshopped on because
Sure.
your lighting is different than the painting's lighting, if that
Gotcha.
makes sense.
Okay.
You'll never see my selfie. I had to delete it from social
wow.
media. Everyone was like, "Ooh, you're
Whoa.
looking not great." I'm like, "Oh God, it's got to go."
Okay.
This day in 1959, Hawaii became the 50th state.
Happy birthday, Hawaii.
Melakaliki
no.
Maka is the
No.
thing. Come
No,
on,
no. No.
Oh, I love Hawaii. I'm sure you love getting laid, though, right,
No.
Edward?
Jeez.
But I'm sorry, I gotta keep it G-rated. I gotta
No.
roll it back. This day in 1987, Dirty Dancing was released.
Never seen it.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's
Heard
a
of it, though.
classic.
Yeah.
Great movie. And then a bunch of birthdays today. Usain Bolt,
Yep.
Kenny Rogers, Kim Cattrall, and Christopher Robin.
Wow.
Yay.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. All right, guys. Thank you so
Okay.
much. What?
Nothing. We're wrapping it up.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll catch you tomorrow.